Hey guys, it's your guy, the Scary Guy, and this video is what I'm sure most of you were expecting. For those that don't know, I made a video talking about the Mr. Beast drama and why I thought it was so bad, and I mentioned in that video that I'd be doing this one, so here we are. In this video, we will be reacting to a video from SunnyV2 titled, How Will the Kris Tyson Situation Impact Mr. Beast? Along with that, we will break down each part and compare the context of the video to the popular belief. And that popular belief is, was SunnyV2 right all about Ava Kris Tyson? So as for what he was quote-unquote right about, I'll give you a super brief summary of it. So basically, Kris Tyson was exposed for the following: communicating inappropriately with minors, supporting Shadman, owning a piece of art from Shadman. And by the way, if you know Shadman or have some idea of who Shadman is, I'm pretty sure you understand why that's bad. Having a Discord full of underage individuals and sending inappropriate messages to them, and links to Jeanette McCurdy's quote-unquote photos. And at least that's what I think that is. If there's anything else I missed, let me know. So what does it have to do with SunnyV2's video? Well, back around, I think it was around 2023, he released that video and it blew up. Not in a good way. A lot of people attacked SunnyV2 for being transphobic and hateful, but SunnyV2 did not respond. Instead, he continued with the usual stuff and posted as usual. But around 2024, which was when Kris was exposed, people are now saying that SunnyV2 was right and deserved an apology. But does he? Well, that's what we are going to break down in this video. And just to let you all know, there will be multiple breaks in between as it goes. Reaction will start in 3, 2, 1.
The Kris Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for Mr. Beast's brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits. So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the Mr. Beast channel.
Alright, here we go.
In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Kris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude. Yet beginning in March 2022, Kris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as "I finally got my nails done at a nail tech." Additionally, Kris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, "Okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I quote look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting replies such as "You went from man to boy." Kris responded by stating, "Nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better," yet his Twitter photos kept insinuating that Kris was becoming more feminine, with this same kind of look showing up in his Mr. Beast appearances.
So what did he say here? He started off with how fans noticed Kris was acting different. He was known for the early days of being the cool dude until he began transitioning, along with how fans started reacting to his new looks and his painted nails.
For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled "I strapped a GoPro to a fish," in which Kris dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, "Kris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother." Okay, so some people just gonna ignore Kris's nails? Kris had to have lost a bet. The look is getting wild. The response to the video then prompted countless viral TikToks, such as this one with 700,000 likes, stating, "How did Kris go from this to this?" While others even made the claim that Carl had turned him gay. Now, this was pretty ridiculous as Carl isn't even that feminine, and Kris had come out as bisexual years before he and Carl had even met.
He reveals more comments of people talking about Kris's new appearance. He also disproves the theory that Carl made him gay and brought up that Kris revealed that he was bisexual.
The true catalyst for Kris Tyson's feminization instead seemed to have come from his marriage. In January 2022, Kris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nails. Kris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 diary reading, for a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated, with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end. Chris went from lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long nails. As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self, he'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image, showing up to the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which received a positive response from both Carl and Mr. Beast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend."
For this section, he dives into the details of Chris's transition and his divorce with his wife. He then shows supportive comments from his co-workers. He shows comments from people disproving this later. I'll continue this in a moment, but I need to say this. So far, we haven't caught any details about what Chris was exposed about today. So let's keep our ears open.
While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times. Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I know I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker." Chris's response received some positivity such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house, a life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure?" Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from Mr. Beast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe. Mr. Beast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, "I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life."
Damn, he clapped back at the big man. Can't blame him though. Alright, so what's from this? Oh yeah. There are various comments either supportive or against Chris's transition, and a debate on how this will affect Chris's son, and that's it.
In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent livestream titled "Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes," Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
"Oh my God, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you."
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, it's Jimmy.
How did fan art? This is what we were looking for. Be brave, be honest, be kind, Mr. Beast. That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey, nice shirt. Thanks, dude, nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude, nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act as fodder for another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism.
Yikes. Yeah, That definitely doesn't look like a very hyped up live stream. Now, with that said, we've made it through more than half of the video, but we haven't gotten any details of what Kris has done today. Not a single one. If any of you watched the video, you'd know that. But if you haven't, let's watch the rest. No interruptions in the middle.
Kris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time, but is this really going to happen? Well, maybe. It's difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Kris's reputation and influence. However, if Kris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place? Perhaps the opposite will happen, and he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Kris, who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos. MrBeast has likely cultivated a massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability rarely works as intended, and is often nothing more than a distraction from the premise of the movie or video. On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority, although as we have seen, a situation like Kris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could be seen as a benefit for the MrBeast brand.
Drama is good for growth, 100%. That would be an easy way to up my
So
views
you're
if
a
I got
Keemstar
it.
The problem is this type of situation is probably the last thing that MrBeast wants to attract, as he's forced to agree with Kris's position, as he has no way of manipulating the situation without being painted as the bad guy. It's a lose-lose situation for MrBeast. I think Jimmy is in an inescapable situation. If he kicks out Kris, cancelled. If he don't, his channel will die for real. An inescapable situation is a pretty good way of describing the drama, which is also why it deserves the harsh label of being a nightmare. Jimmy has no option but to publicly express acceptance of Kris's transition, as silence or even worse, disapproval would come with obvious severe repercussions. However, in accepting Kris's transition, Jimmy implies that this will be the new normal within the content, thus annoying a different group of people, many of whom will never express their true feelings and may rather simply click on fewer MrBeast videos. If this is the case, Jimmy has no option but to accept this fate, as removing Kris from the videos in any kind of way could create an even more severe media firestorm. The only clean solution, should things go south, might be for Kris to resign himself, and even then rumors and bad press will be unavoidable. Whether it be arrogance or ignorance, Kris seems oblivious to how this whole thing might impact Jimmy, forgetting that he achieved his current level of success by avoiding this exact type of drama.
Whew! That was a real serious take on the situation. And that's the end of the video. He explains how Kris's transition will negatively affect MrBeast and his channel, but that's it. Okay, let's break it down. So, what has been found in the video? Let's see. It's nothing. None of the present details were made or discussed in SunnyV2's video. So despite popular belief, SunnyV2 was not right about Kris Tyson, and he doesn't need an apology. Was it wrong for people to dunk on him for having an opinion? Absolutely. But his video from 2023 had nothing to do with the current drama. Now, you could argue that the video's old title is the reason why SunnyV2 was right, but personally, I fail to see it that way. A title of a video doesn't prove you are right about someone. What supports such a claim is evidence. His video only talks about Kris's transition, and that's it. There are no claims about Kris's recent actions or any evidence to prove it. So, I find the claim of SunnyV2 being right about Kris Tyson to be completely false. But let me know what you all think in the comments. Also, before I end the video, this clip-by-clip slide style is a new form of commentary I'm trying out. Let me know what you guys think about it. Alright, that's really it. Later.